Hey everybody, thanks for showing up. I really appreciate it. Today we are going to do a little video about our firm values, okay? By way of introduction, I am Mike Sullivan. I'm the founder of the organization and the current leader. I wanted to start with a little bit about how we did this. Mostly you go around these organizations, these corporations, and they have these posters on the wall with the firm values, you know? And I always kind of thought it was kind of cheesy and stupid. It's like, well, okay, here's our firm values, whatever. It's kind of like something you have to do as an organization, right? So I kind of resisted doing this for a while. In fact, I even have a funny one in my home. I have like a penguin and it says persistence at the top, you know, and at the bottom it says, until you spread your wings, you never know how far you can walk. But actually, I became a believer through the process. I really did, because I don't know, man. I mean, it kind of tells you what kind of organization you're in, what you're about. It's general, but it's kind of real in a way, because people operate on a day-to-day basis on certain ways. So here's what we did. We got all the firm leadership in a room, okay? And we decided to write down on a piece of paper all the things, not what we thought what we should be, but what we were. Like, we sort of self-described, right? Like, what are we like as an organization, as people? Like, what are we like? What are our virtues? What are our vices? And then we sort of like put them all up on the board and we crossed them off and collapsed. And we spent like a whole day doing this stuff, okay? And we had two groups and they both did it, and then we brought them together and we finally kind of discussed the points, narrowed it down. You know, I was watching this is 2.0, by the way. You guys are in 2.0. This is the second video that we've created on this. I did one 10 years ago, and from that process. And then most recently, we got all the partners together. We did the same thing, except we worked off the original. And some of the values are out, and some of the new ones are in. So you're all part of the new generation. Congratulations, new generation values. Anyway, it's pretty cool because it's like we really spent a lot of time thinking about who we were, and you know, in our best moments, what our values were, or what we were like, and that's what we came up with. And it is cool, I think, because it does, having these posters on the wall and talking about these values and stuff does bring a sense of, you know, it tells everybody, you know, how we operate and what we're trying to be. And then what we're going to do is, just like all you people, when new people come, they're going to have to watch me and they're going to have to watch you. I think some of you are actually in camera, so. That's right. It's all about poise, okay? All right, so let me jump into it. So our first one is we pursue excellence. This seems pretty obvious in a lot of ways, because who wants to be crappy? I mean, who doesn't think that they're pursuing excellence, right? Every organization thinks they're excellent. But I don't know, guys, if you guys have noticed, but in workers' comp land, there is a lot of bad lawyers. Have you noticed this? I remember the first time I went to the WCAB when I was 26 years old, and I walked in there, and I walked around, and I looked around, and I was like, I'm gonna be rich. It's like, these guys cannot even get dressed in the morning, you know? And over the years, it's gotten better, but there is a lot of mediocrity out there in workers' comp land. And you know, we're not just a workers' comp firm anymore, right? We've expanded out into civil and employment. It's pretty cool. But there still is a lot of entrenched mediocrity. When I interview people, I hire like maybe one out of every three, you know? And but in our firm, we've tended towards those clients that want good lawyers. We don't have like clients that don't care. You know, we're selective on our hiring. We've kind of moved to the higher end. And I think the reason is because it just sucks to be nothing special. It just sucks. You know, it just sucks. We don't want to do that. We don't feel like it. But at the core of it is sort of what I like to think of as internal motivation. So when I go to hire someone, what I'm looking for is, I mean, yeah, we all got to punch the clock and we got to make money, right? And we want to get ahead. But if you're just doing it in order to do it, to get what you get from it, as opposed to like having some kind of passion or love for what you're doing, you're gonna suck. You're gonna suck because you don't really care. So like when I sat down to write Sullivan on Comp is a good example, right? You know, Sullivan on Comp, it's gotten huge, right? It's like 8,000 subscribers. It's ubiquitous. The judges have it. It's the standard text, and it's awesome. But when I was writing it, I didn't know that was gonna happen. I didn't know if anybody would care. And it took 4 years and cost like $1 million, right, to do it. But I just really, really wanted to be a good lawyer, and I knew that if I wrote it all down, I would really know the law better than anybody else, and it just kind of drove me, you know what I mean? And so I think if you have this internal motivation for what you're doing, then you're gonna be excellent at what you're doing. And that's kind of what I'm getting at with this pursuing excellence. So we have that kind of that fire inside that makes you good. And the world can see it, you know it, it makes you feel good about yourself. It's just awesome, okay? So that's number one. And the second one is we deliver value to our clients. Now, this is a funny one because we're in this room and we're talking about ourselves and what we're like and our values and all the stuff we're writing down. And about half a day in, someone says, at some point, shouldn't we be talking about our clients? And until that point, we've just been self-absorbed and, it's thinking about me. I'm tired of talking about me. What do you think of me? That's what we were doing. That was a joke, by the way. You just laugh at the jokes. That's your function. I thought we were clear before we started. So anyway, we talked about our clients. And the thing about clients is they have things that they want. And when I started the firm, I was like Mr. Gung-Ho. I'm like, I am the best lawyer in the world. And I'm going to kick everybody's butt, right? And that was my thing. And I go to court and I'd yell at everybody. And I'd take every case to trial, right? And the clients were like, oh, this guy is just like, we don't want him to represent us because we would like our cases closed at some time and to stop paying legal bills at some time. But I didn't care what the clients wanted. I just cared about my image of myself, right? The clients, they want different things. You got your self-insureds, they have a relationship with these people, multiple claims, retirement claims, employment law issues, and you got your insurance carrier cases, they just want CNR'd for whatever. And different strategies, different resource allocation. Delivering value to the clients. Without our clients, we don't have a firm. So this is one of our key values. And then we get to integrity. Now this is a chance for me to sound really self-important and pompous. So I'm pretty happy about that. People talk about integrity. and yeah, I think at one level it's just being honest. Right? There's a lot of organizations out there and people out there that I was reading in a book the other day that the average person lies once a day. And it's like, oh, sorry I was late. Traffic was bad, or I look fat in this shirt. No, you don't. No, no, right? We all do that kind of thing. But that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm just kind of talking about not lying. We don't lie to each other in the firm. There's people that live, they think lying is just kind of part of life, and you kind of do it when you can get away with it to get what you can. But we just don't do that. I'm not smart enough to lie because I can't keep track of who I told what lie to what person, right? But we don't lie to each other. We don't lie to the court. We don't lie to opposing counsel, and we don't lie to ourselves. Integrity goes a little deeper than just not lying. What I've found is that people, including myself, we have a tendency not to tell the whole truth to ourselves, right? You know what I'm talking about? You will tell yourself, I'm this way, and you're kind of that way. It's kind of like a difference between who you are as a person and who you're showing the world. We all have that to some extent, but that disparity can, if you start not knowing what it is, if you start thinking that you really are what you're presenting, then you can really screw yourself up. And we'll get to the growth part, but I think people really get limited in their growth if they can't see the truth about themselves. That's a little bit philosophical, so sorry about that one. But I think it's true. I really think it's true. I think professional growth goes hand in hand with self-awareness. So that's something we really strive for. Reinforce it in each other, the whole thing. We got executive coaches, we got the whole thing. Okay, and the next one is we practice with distinction. Now you may say, Mike, practicing with distinction. How is that different than being excellent? And it's true. Practicing with distinction is kind of like a form of being excellent, right? What I mean by that is we always ask ourselves the question, what are we doing that the person down the street isn't already doing? So when I do the interviews of lawyers, you guys all sat through this, right? I'll say, tell me a story about when you did something distinctive. And they say, what do I mean? What do you mean by that? And I'll say, well, tell me a story and I hear what you did there. And you think, not your average lawyer wouldn't have done this. It's kind of cool. And I hear the story and I'm like, man, that's pretty smart. I kind of like that. It's kind of sexy, right? I mean, it's like you're doing something outside the box. You're doing something that's kind of cool. And I think that's something that we as an organization just strive for as lawyers. If you're just checking off the boxes, I mean, what are you really doing? what kind of life is this you're living? You're just kind of going through the checks as you go into this. It's boring. It's boring. It's boring. But we can do something excellent, something distinctive. That's cool. It's like stands out. You feel special because you are special, right? So we strive for that. And it's not distinction, and it's not just the lawyers, right? It's throughout the whole firm. We try at every level to see something different, something better, something cooler, and be that. It gets me happy and excited. I don't know about you guys, but I get happy and excited about that. And that goes to the next one, which is we foster growth. You've seen this firm, right? We started with me and a fax printer copier, and I would wait there for the mail. I play Civilization 2, because I had nothing to do. And, I was a complete idiot and I didn't know what I was doing, so it took 5 years to hire the first associate. But eventually, we got our feet, we got going, got Sullivan on comp, and we've grown up to now over 100 lawyers. And we will be the biggest firm here within a few years in the state doing workers' comp, for sure, which is awesome. And we started these other departments, and we're grow, right? Share. We get new clients all the time just because of our brand. It's so strong, it's so cool, and we like it. We like to grow, and then by growing, we create opportunities for people like you that, you can get ahead, you can be partner, you can, be in a firm where clients want to be. You can, you can have personal success and success as a team. So without growth, there's not momentum. You need momentum in order to keep the organization going. It's like a human being. You're kind of either getting better or getting worse. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's cool. We're really into growth on the outside, but there's also growth on the inside. And what that means is that we really try to foster development of people inside the firm. You see it with our quality control and our training, and I make you do the WCLP even though you don't want to, right? We have a mentorship throughout the firm, right? And we train the managers. The idea being that, and this gets into a little bit about being honest with yourself earlier. I've never met a person that I truly respect that doesn't look back at their former self and kind of say, ugh, at least over a certain age, right? At least over 35 or whatever. You look at your past self and you're kind of like, oh, that's not good. That wasn't good. I shouldn't have been that way. I shouldn't have been doing that. Boy, I've grown up a lot since then. I've learned some lessons. Eating a little humble pie. This is maturity, right? And then the people that kind of get through that process, you know what I'm talking about? When you grow up, you become self-possessed, you know what you're doing. But at the same time, you also have more humility, right? Because you're like, oh, I think there's I was reading a book about this the other day. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. The more insight you have and the more mature you get, the less certain you are of the convictions that you have. Not that you don't have the strength of your convictions, but you know what I mean? You're just like, oh, okay, well, I could be wrong, and you're more open-minded. You're more honest with yourself. It's not so hard for you to admit to yourself that you're not super bitching all the time. You know what I mean? It's cool when you get to that point because it's not a lot more relaxing. You're not always saying, I'm bitching, everybody look at me. You don't have to do that anymore. You just be yourself. You know what you're doing. You've learned some lessons, you made some mistakes. So growth. I really believe this, that you cannot progress professionally without personally engaging in things that make you grow as a human being. If you don't grow up and you're an arrested child or adolescent, you're not going to function well. And so I've never mentored an attorney or anyone, and I've mentored a lot of them without that moment, that moment where they're doing something systemically that's not making sense all the time for reasons that are emotional in nature. What does that say? We're emotional creatures that sometimes think. Have you ever heard that? I love that. And I've never had a relationship like that without at some moment in time that lawyer going, I don't know why I keep doing this. I'm not thinking correctly. I'm not doing it right. Why is that? And then they have to have some personal realization, some personal development. And the job of the mentor in the firm is to help them with that process of self-realization. I can remember one time the firm was about 10 lawyers and it was really small and it wasn't moving forward. I was turning over lawyers, we couldn't grow. It just wasn't working. And then one day I realized, that I was the problem. I went home and I said, I'm the problem. The reason the firm isn't growing is because of me. because I'm not thinking right about what the clients want. I'm not thinking right about how to mentor associates. I've got this idea in my head about what we should be, but it's not matching the market. I'm not listening, right? And so as a result, the firm was stalled. And once I had that insight, boop, 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 boop. And what I have found is the size of the firm has always been a reflection of what's between the ears of the leadership. And as a result, through the firm as a whole. So we foster growth. I think growth is the key because it's always one way or the other, up or down. We always want to be up, inside and out. Okay? And then we work as a team. Now, we have all seen these organizations where I say, Anna, did you hear about Julie? What a loser. She's not cool like us, you know what I mean? You're like talking about people behind their back. You're trying to jockey for position. You wonder how you can impress the boss. You want to manage up, right? You want to make sure the boss is perceiving you right. You're all about how you're perceived. You get into politics, which is saying what you want people to hear for effect rather than what you really think. The lack of authenticity. You know, this is not good. It's not good because everyone's all about themselves and they're always thinking short term and their thinking is myopic. Whereas if you're just saying what you think and you trust the people with you that are with you and your team and you trust them to tell you what they're seeing, good or bad, and you seek out feedback, good or bad, about how you're operating. Well, now you got everybody just kind of talking to each other, you know, just telling the truth, saying what they think, calling each other on stuff, figuring it out, helping each other out. And if I have an issue with you, I'm talking to you about it. I'm not talking to you about it, right? Unless you're helping me figure out how to talk to her about it. But point being that we work as a team. You know, it's like everyone's open, honest, together, working on the project together. They realize that their individual success is intimately tied up with the functionality of everyone else in the organization, such that we work as a team and we all succeed. Work as a team. And then, we got a lot of these. Okay, we're 2/3 done. We give and require respect. Yes, and it goes along the same lines of what I was just saying, right? Working as a team and showing respect is kind of the same thing. So you see these organizations where the boss likes to scream at people. Have you ever seen me scream at people? I only scream at you on the inside, okay? I don't scream at you on the outside. But you know what I mean. There's people where bosses feel free to be abusive. People feel free to talk behind each other's backs. If you have a problem with someone, you don't have the courage to talk to them directly, right? You don't want to listen to anybody about anything. There's even organizations where people are mean to each other. They try to hurt each other. They think they can get ahead by bringing someone else down. That sucks. It just sucks. It's a bad way to be in business, and it's a terrible way to be in life. You just don't want to do it. You're unhappy. It just sucks. Don't do it. Okay, we don't do that. So we show respect to each other. What that means is I'm going to speak respectfully to you. Like if you don't go to court one day, you just don't show up because you don't feel like it. I'm not going to come up and say, "Rah!" scream at you and yell at you. But we are going to sit down and have a serious conversation. I'm going to say, look, did you go to court or not? If you didn't, why? I need to know that. We can have an uncomfortable conversation, right? And it goes both ways. You can talk to me too. Say, I don't like the way you talked to me the other day, whatever. But it's respectful, right? It's respectful but constructive. And we also require it. We don't just give it, but we require it. You know, it's like if someone is not being respectful to you, then we call them on it. And it goes outside the firm too, right? We show respect to clients. And clients can be really difficult and mean. We're self-possessed. We don't not tell them what we're thinking. We don't call them. Sometimes we fire clients. But we're above. I aspire to a regal presentation of ourselves to the world, where we know who we are, and other people don't dictate how we act. But even if they become non-respectful, we remain professional. And that's pretty cool if you can pull it off. Now, you can't always pull it off. Sometimes you need to choke somebody. You know, you grab them by the neck. No, we don't do that. We don't choke people. But you want to. I get that. But we don't do it. We're grown-ups, professionals, and we recognize that other people have value. Yeah, other people have value, and we treat them accordingly. It's like you even if you're weird or out of line or doing something wrong or need to grow up or whatever, I do too. Right? So in recognition of that reality, we treat you with the respect you deserve just by virtue of being a human being in our organization. Okay? And we require that of others towards ourselves too. We're not doormats. Okay? And that leads down to we take pride in what we do. Okay, so I was in all-boys Catholic high school where they used to hit me with a board. Do you remember? I'm not kidding. It didn't really damage me psychologically too much. They didn't. I've had a lot of therapy. They did other things that damaged me psychologically, but the board was not that bad. So anyway, they taught us the 7 deadly sins. And what was one of the 7 deadly sins? Pride. Pride is one of the 7 deadly sins. You're not supposed to have pride. And we know arrogant people, don't we? Now, have you ever seen a lawyer whose ego seems to be a little bit out of control? Have you ever seen that? Yeah. I mean, you got to have a strong ego, right? Especially if you have smart people trying to fight with you all day long. You got to think that you're strong and best. You have to have self-confidence and strength of your convictions. That's cool. But pride, there's pride and there's pride. So I'll tell you this story about Bart, who's second in command of the firm. We hired this executive coach, right? And he was one of those guys who tries to really kick your butt, right? Call you on your bull. Oh, edit that out. Call you on your stuff, okay? and just really give it to you. In their first meeting, Bart didn't know he was going to do that. So the guy says, "Hey, Bart, what are you most proud of?" And it's a trap, of course. And Bart says, "Well, I'm really proud of my family and my kids. I'm really proud of what I've accomplished professionally. I'm kind of a self-made man. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, so I feel proud of that." And the guy says, "Well, what would you say if I told you that I see your vision of yourself as a self-made man as a total fantasy?" And then Bart didn't say anything. He said, "Well, you're not saying anything, so you must be thinking about what I said." And Bart said, "No, I'm not saying anything because it's taking every ounce of strength I have not to come across this table and slap you silly." I love that. Anyway. But, he hurt his pride. And the thing is, I think Bart eventually saw his point. It's we all start with a lot of advantages, some of us more than others. And so, self-made man, yes and no, right? Point being, it's good to have confidence, and it's good to have a strong ego when you need to be in combat, and it's good to believe in yourself and your convictions. It's bad to puff yourself up and think of yourself as someone who's better than other people. That kind of doesn't work very well. Ultimately, you can't maintain that because in some ways you are, and in some ways you aren't. And so that's in the end of the day, it's going to kick you in the teeth. So you don't want to have too much pride that way. But what we can have is pride in our work product. And what we can have is pride in each other. And what we can have is pride in ourselves when we strive to be better. See what I mean? So I'm proud of the lawyers. I watch them develop and grow. And as they get better and they're more honest with themselves and they develop, I'm proud of them. I really feel good about that. It's one of the most rewarding things about managing attorneys. And I'm proud of our work, man. I mean, it's good stuff. Our work is good because we're doing good work, and I'm proud of that. And I think that's okay. I don't think that's a 7 deadly sin. And I'm proud of myself when I stop kidding myself about something and grow up more, and the firm functions better as a result. So pride in what we do is a big part of it for us. It's we don't do crappy stuff. We do awesome stuff. And that's who we are. And you start thinking of yourself that way, you start acting that way, right? So that's pretty cool. And then we go down to embracing diversity. Okay, this is one of our newer ones. We didn't have this 10 years ago, which says something about us, I guess. But diversity is pretty important. I've looked back at the history of the firm, and when I started, man, I was at another firm 30 years ago. That's how old I am. And it was there wasn't all white men, but it was a lot. And we would all have to sit in our desks, and we weren't allowed to move, and we had to have our ties this until 5 o'clock. You know what I mean? It's like that. And what you saw around you in the firm wasn't really representative of society in general. It just wasn't. And I think that had an adverse effect, because there's a lot of different kinds of people in the world in all different ways. And we as an organization need to be all different kinds of people too if we're going to relate to our clients, the people around us, if we're going to be effective in the world. And we've never really had a well thought through agenda or quota or anything like that. But what has happened is our firm has ended up being one of the most diverse there is. We greatly exceed all measurable standards in this regard, and I'm pretty proud of that. Proud about that. I guess I gotta be proud about that. But anyway, and we haven't done it through deliberate mechanisms, although it's been a high value for us. What's happened is we're just so open to anybody that's doing this stuff that it just doesn't matter to us, who you are, what categories you fall into. We're open to everybody, and that serves us really, really well because we bring in excellent people from all walks of life, all different philosophies, all different types, and then we exist as that. So rather than saying we embrace diversity, although that's what we're going to say because we do embrace it, it's more of a description. We are diverse. We're extremely diverse, and that is one of our strengths because it allows us to sort of relate to everybody that's out there, and it just being who we are in that way doesn't close us in. So we're a radically open organization, and it shows in how we're comprised, and it functions really well for us. And finally, we influence through innovation. And this has been a hallmark of our identity since the very beginning, right? So we're pretty entrepreneurial. We like to see the vision of where the organization is going and what possibilities exist for us. And we have always gone for it. And you can see I get excited about it, right? It really turns me on. I really love this stuff. So Sullivan Associates, thought leaders, right? And so now everyone has it, the judges have it, everyone uses it every day. It attracts associates. But more than just having it, every month we update it, we have the tools, we're after it, and we continue to educate the industry. And as a result, man, we're the thought leaders. We just are. I mean, when you want to know what to do in workers' comp, you go to Sullivan, that's it. It's pretty awesome, right? And then we had the reforms in 2004, 2012. We wrote books, we did webinars, we were all over the industry. We were the intellectual thought leaders. And the same thing during COVID. Remember COVID? We did 30 webinars. We had thousands, tens of thousands attending. We did that book, which if you print it out would be 400 for free for the entire industry. We had thousands of people seeing it every week, and they still look at it. If you printed it out, it'd be 400 pages now, I think. And so we led, it's not an overstatement to say we led the industry through COVID. We saw the Insurance Education Association, right? It's a 150-year organization that had educated claims examiners, and we bought it. And we put a lot of money and a CEO in there, and we started educating claims adjusters, which goes with our education of lawyers, so our comp, it all starts to snowball, right? Most recently, we've been looking to generative artificial intelligence. It's not just the world that we've been leading through innovation, but interiorly, we have been doing that too. We've been using artificial intelligence for our document management. We're constantly looking at what we're doing and questioning our assumptions and trying to be better. Just constantly in all areas of the firm, operationally and everywhere else. So I've always said, you got to reinvent yourself every year. You gotta say, this old firm is dead, it's gotta be a new firm now. And so we always try to look at our assumptions and question why we're thinking the way we're thinking and why we're doing the work, and try to do it better, do it better, do it better. And get feedback from everybody. And I really think that influencing through innovation makes us unique. It really makes us unique. I see all the other competitors, I see a lot of them are doing some of this stuff, and a lot of them are good at it, but we really put our arms around this. It's something that will always be, and it serves us very, very well. When I was writing Sullivan on Comp, I thought, well, if people like this book, it'd be a great marketing device. But what I didn't see coming is all the associates interviewing from other firms saying, I want to work for the firm that wrote the book. So there's always dividends that you don't see coming your way when you're willing to question, how you can do things better. Where's the industry going? Where's the organization going? And then how can we lead into that place? And so we focus on that, and it serves us very well, and it won't change. And that is our firm values, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you guys for coming in today. I know you have other things to do. It's appreciated, and for listening to me and laughing at my jokes, although you could have laughed a little louder, honestly. But with that, on behalf of the partnership, the whole firm, myself, I'll close us out and say, if you're listening to this, you're probably new to the firm, and this is you're watching the video, I'll say, welcome to the firm. Thanks, guys.